Hi, this is 365801 and this is my very meagre but still massively bigger than it was supposed to be manga haul for the month of November 2019. I had decided to go along with quite a lot of people on social media and do a no buy November, which I was doing very well at until a few people started chatting with me on social media and I just couldn't help it anymore and I broke. I just broke. So I bought some manga. I ordered them all at the same time. I've been told that maybe I should turn them around at the start so that people just don't like skip past it all and for my videos. So this is what I'm doing to see. Let me know, is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? So I'm gonna go through the very small manga haul. So this should be a shorter video than usual. So the purchases I made for the month of November, they all were bought at the same time, but these volumes came in first. So I will talk about these first, and they are The Crimson Spell, with a "the" in front of it. The Crimson Spell by Ayano Yamane, and these are printed by Kitty Media. So they are the original publishers of Crimson Spell. Back in the day. They unfortunately went out of business, or the license expired, and so it was a license save by SuBLime Manga, which is part of Viz Media. So for a very long time I think we could say the king is dead, long live SuBLime, because they were the ones that were publishing BL when many of the other publishers were going out of business, or as we know, slowing right down, not having great business practices, and eking out the odd volume here and there, and starting Kickstarters. Don't get me started. Anyway, you know who I'm talking about. SuBLime were the ones that kind of took on the mantle of being the BL publisher. I think that's the case. It's still the case. They still produce very, very good titles. I'm still looking forward to whatever they come out with, and I will buy it no matter what. But there are a lot of new publishers coming up, and a lot of publishers going into BL, and I think that's something to be really celebrated. So I'm happy that there are more publishers available. But Kitty Media is no more, unfortunately. So a little more on The Crimson Spell. If you don't know already, only 2 volumes were produced by Kitty Media before they went out of business. But there are 6 volumes available in English. The newest volume was just released recently. I don't have it yet, I don't think, so I'm gonna have to get a hold of that. And I do have almost all of them. I think I just need to get, I think, volume 4. I thought I had them, and maybe I do have volume 6. I think I do have volume 6. I probably do have volume 6. I think it's just volume 4 I don't have. Oh, I'm gonna have to check. This is what happens when you are buying series out of order and then you don't know where you're at with the series. Anyway, the point I'm going to be making here is one that I had a lovely conversation on the social medias, I don't know which one it was, with Bizarre Individuals, so shout out to Bizarre Individual, who I'm really enjoying chatting with a lot. And it was about buying the same title but in a slightly different incarnation, whether it be from a different publisher, or a previous publisher, an out of print publisher, or a new publisher who is now producing new fancy or deluxe editions, or fancy editions, or hardcover editions of the same work that you already own. So, should you purchase it? Well, I think everyone has one particular work that they absolutely adore and love, and would buy every incarnation of, whether it is you know, a 10-year-old beat up copy but really hard to get hold of, or a fabulous brand new hardcover edition, all singing, all dancing, bells and whistles included. You're going to purchase that same work because you love that work, and having all of the different versions makes you feel happy. And if we're not doing that you know, to make us happy, why are we buying them? You know, we can read them, we know what the story is. It's about making us feel good. And so a feel good factor is really important. So yes, I bought these even though I have another version of them. And ironically, Ayano Yamane has another work that's probably even more famous, and that's the Finder collection, that also has different incarnations. There are 3 different publishers who have published Finder, and I think I only have the June and the SuBLime version. I don't think I have the first one, and I don't even know, I'll have to check to see who published them. So they are available in different incarnations, and you want to have each one. So for some people, they wouldn't purchase another version of something because they don't have that same sentimental, emotional attachment. But if you do have one, I think it's perfectly fine to buy a second copy, even if it's the exact same story. It might have a different translation, and that's really interesting to compare and contrast. It might have extra artwork or colour pops in the middle, or it might come with a free badge. And I'm all for free stuff, so I have, in Japan, bought the same volume on the same day from various different shops just to get the different free stuff. And it's in Japanese, so even then I may or may not be able to read it leisurely, or I might have to get my dictionary out, or I might just actually keep it in its cover. A lot of people in Japan actually buy the same book from different shops, and they will then resell that book to Book Off, the second-hand bookseller in Japan. So they will have 1 or 2 copies of the actual book themselves. They'll get all the free things that they would get with the purchase. They will then sell those extra copies of the book that they don't necessarily need and don't have space for in their tiny Japanese apartment to Book Off. So it's just a marketing ploy, it's something that they do, but because I spent several years in Japan buying the same thing in different incarnations does not seem alien to me. And as I am trying to collect everything that has been published in the past for BL, this is a perfectly natural thing for me to do, except I wasn't going to do it during November. So the reason why I got this, The Crimson Spell Volume 1 and 2, and the next book that I'm going to show, is because it was on a special promotion for this particular bookseller, second-hand bookseller, and it was, you know, buy 2 get 1 with so much percentage off, and I can't remember what the percentage off was. Probably not very much. And they were also very, very cheap. They were very reasonably priced, so I think I got them for only £3 each. So £3 for me is perfectly reasonable. It's not breaking the bank, although I'm saying that now. I think December might have to be a no-buy no December as well. That's just how it's going. But I'm really happy to have the Crimson Spell in my collection, and I will read them, and I might read them in tandem and do a compare and contrast with the SuBLime translation as well. So really happy to have them added to the collection. So the next title I bought was Kiddy Papa by Ryo Takagi, and that's published by Dieu. And as you can see, it has a volume 1 mark on the front, and that is because there are 4 volumes published in Japanese, and unfortunately Dieu went out of business and did not publish the rest of the series. So I think there's only 1 volume you can get of Kiddy Papa in English. So I'm very happy to have this. It adds to my Dieu collection, and as you can probably tell, the artwork is a little old-fashioned even for Ryo Takagi. I think it's one of her newer, her older works, and it was made into a yaoi anime. So if you do want to, I think you can get hold of a copy of that. So you can go and find out the story from Kiddy Papa. Some people like it, some people don't. I think Ryo Takagi definitely has some artwork issues where a lot of her characters look very young, and in the anime it doesn't help that some of the voice actors have very young sounding voices. But it is a running joke within this series that the individual on the front, who is a Kiddy Papa. Kiddy is beautiful, and Papa just means dad. So he's a beautiful dad or a beautiful father. Not a daddy, but a beautiful dad. And that's the running joke, that he is youthful and very beautiful. It's a really great story. I think it's really funny. I love the fact that it's the high school boy pursuing the father of his friend, and that's kind of a unique spin on the age difference relationships that a lot of people sometimes really love, and that's their thing, and some people really hate it. Whereas in this case, it's the other way around, that the younger individual is trying to get into a relationship with the older individual, and the way that it kind of is manifested within a literature-based scheme, I think is really fun and interesting. I like the fact that they're both writers. So, Kiddy Papa, I guess, is something that is a bit silly. It's kind of maybe made fun of, but I really enjoy it. I find it really funny. I kind of a little bit disappointed there's only one volume. I have looked through it, I haven't read it completely yet, but I've looked through it, and the art style is a little bit old-fashioned even for Ryo Takagi, but I'm really happy to have it in my collection. So, the final volume of manga that I got this month, it's a very small month. I'm very happy that it's a small month, only 4 volumes, but I'm incredibly happy to be able to have this as a volume in my collection, and that is Pure Heart by Hyouta Fujiyama, and it's published by Jun or June Manga. I'm just gonna have to decide and just pick one. I'm gonna try Jun, let's just call it Jun. Jun Manga. And as you can see, there is a very large number 1 on the front cover. There's a reason for that, and that's because this is actually, so far in Japan, I think a 3-volume series, and June Manga just decided to publish the 1 and then dropped the series, which is unfortunate because, as you probably already know, I absolutely love Hyouta Fujiyama. I want to collect all of her works that's published in English, and I was so happy that I was able to get this copy. Now, this is probably the main reason why I decided to drop my no buy November, and that is because this has been on my watch list on eBay for the particular company that I end up purchasing quite a lot of manga from, and they've had it up on their site for purchase, I don't know, for like a year and a half probably. So I've been watching this title slowly decrease in price. When it was first put up, I was like, oh, must get it, and I had to hold myself back, like physically hold myself back from purchasing it. I so wanted it. So I'm really happy to have it now because it finally got dropped in price. I mean, this is a real waiting game when it comes to buying something for a good price. It first dropped its price, I think it was up on the site for almost £20 I think at the start, and I just wasn't willing to pay that much money for it because that is over recommended retail price. And then it was dropped down to what I assume would be recommended retail price, around £10, and even then I was really struggling not to buy it because some volumes are difficult to come by, you don't see them very often, and you just want to buy them even if it is the full recommended retail price. So second hand, but probably about a right amount for UK price. And then recently they dropped it down to £6, and I just couldn't help myself. I knew if I didn't buy it, someone else would, because that is a good price for this volume. And I didn't have it, and it does add to my collection. Plus it's Hyouta Fujiyama, who I adore. So, No Buy November was broken mainly due to this volume, this one particular volume. So a little bit about Junjo. This volume, volume 1, I think was published in 2007 in Japan, and then it was 2 years later, so not too much of a not quite bad turnaround, to 2009 for June manga, and it is about a writer. He's a freelance writer, and he's Tozaki Keisuke, and he is the one with the dark hair on the front cover, and he was absolutely in love with the other person on the front cover, and that is Kurata, who was incredibly popular, tall, athletic, just the most fabulous person in high school, and he had the biggest crush on him. And they end up meeting years later when they're both adults, and their romance goes from there. However, their romance develops a lot more because it's a 3-volume series and they only published volume 1. So you can get a starter taste of what their relationship is like. There was also a sort of minor character in this story, Jinjo, called Miyata, and he gets his own spin-off series, and that's also a 3-volume series. So there's a lot more to this story than you're going to get just in this one volume, but it's the only one that's available. So if you are interested, I would go and get it. If you like Hyouta Fujiyama, try and find it. It's out there somewhere. I really like Hyouta Fujiyama stories. They're just really slow moving, very subtle. Her art style is very similar across all of her stories, but I'm not offended by it in any way, so I actually quite like reading her stories, the artwork and the dialogue, and I never feel annoyed at her characters in the way that I do with Makoto Tateno. I always just kind of think, I'm very accepting of their situations, and I think it's the way that she presents them. I really like her works, and there is one particular work that I will always want in English and will probably never be published in English, and that's the Dear Green series. And there's I think it is all by one publisher, but it's across several volumes, and I absolutely love the Dear Green series. I would love that to be published in English, especially now that Seven Seas is publishing the Carp on the Chopping Board and the Caged Mouse Dreams of Cheese, so that's now going to happen. So my new goal is for maybe Dear Green to be published at some point. So I will harass some publishers and put that down in their surveys for publication. So Pure Heart is one that I'm really happy to have in the collection. I may have all of her work, but I will have to go through and see which ones I have and which ones I still have to get. So I need to do that for all of the different authors that I have. I'm really happy about this. It was the one that broke me in the end, but I just happen to be very happy to be broken when it comes to this one. I like that it's called Jinjo because obviously I'm a big fan of Jinjo Romantica, and I think it's a nice translation to call it Pure Heart. So yes, this is what broke me. This is what broke my no buy November. So that wraps up all of the purchases for my no buy November. Pure Heart by Hyouta Fujiyama, Kiddy Papa by Ryo Takagi, and The Crimson Spell Volume 1 and 2 by Ayano Yamane. I did purchase them all at the same time. They kind of came in the post at different times, and I'm really happy to add them to the collection. They weren't overly expensive. Probably altogether it was about £15, which is not terrible to get 4 volumes for £15, and to have some that are a little bit harder to find and out of print, but all really good, excellent quality. The Crimson Spell ones especially are in very, very good condition, so I'm really happy to have these in my collection, even though I wasn't supposed to buy anything this month. So don't judge me. I know you're judging me. Don't judge me. I can't help it. So I'm really happy with my purchases this month.